Geppetto always knew when Pinocchio was lying. Everybody knew. It was pretty obvious when the puppet's nose doubled in length. Outside of fairy tales, though, the possibility of revealing lies still fascinates people around the world. Modern methods, however, do not rely on some mysterious magic. These evaluations of honesty, produced by science, have been studied at length. Years of scientific work has produced a device called the polygraph, which helps professionals in multiple fields uncover dishonesty when used correctly. Jerry A. Lewis and Michelle Capari, both holding degrees in relevant subjects, recount the history of the polygraph. They credit Cesare Lombroso with the creation of what they call the first modern lie detection device in 1881. Cesare Lombroso's work was only the beginning. According to Lewis and Kupari, the technology was later advanced by William M. Marston, and the authors consider psychiatrist John Larson and psychologist Leonard Keele the developers of the first actual polygraph. You may be wondering, what exactly does this polygraph do? Sabrina McLaughlin answers this question in her article Liar, Liar, which appeared in the peer-reviewed journal Current Science. According to McLaughlin, stress and anxiety about lying generally causes physiological changes, some of which can be measured by the polygraph device. A modern polygraph measures breathing rate, heart rate, blood pressure, and sweating. McLaughlin describes the setup. A rubber pneumograph is strapped around the examinee's chest and another around their waist. These devices measure your breathing rate. Heart rate and blood pressure are measured by a blood pressure cuff, and 2 galvanometers assess sweatiness. These metal sensors are placed on 2 of your fingers, and they use an electric current to determine how well your skin conducts electricity. The better it conducts electricity, the sweatier you are. Test formats vary depending on the particular situation. Generally, an examiner asks a series of questions, and the polygraph device records the examinee's physiological responses. Legal professionals Enid L. Zaffron and Jeffrey R. Stickle write, quote, polygraph charts presumably provide examiners with data from which they can judge truthfulness and deception, end quote. However, the authors also note many factors, including the setting and the examiner's experience, can affect the test's validity. Nonetheless, Bruno Verschuri and several of his colleagues at Ghent University claim, quote, physiological measures recorded with the polygraph have shown to be highly valid measures of concealed information, end quote. However, experts fail to agree on the exact level of accuracy. Despite disagreement about the accuracy of the polygraph, the device is used in several fields, including criminal investigation. M.T. Bradley and his colleagues at the University of New Brunswick describe one method used to expose guilty suspects, the concealed information test. Suspects are asked multiple choice questions while the polygraph device records their reactions to each option. A stronger response to key details from the crime may indicate guilty knowledge, or information that only the perpetrator of the crime would recognize and respond to. Lewis and Kupari describe the control questions test, which they argue is the most common type of test used in criminal investigations. The examiner asks a series of control questions, which may be difficult to answer honestly or they may be embarrassing. Then the examiner compares the suspect's reactions to control questions to their reactions to questions relevant to the crime. While the polygraph test is used by law enforcement to help identify criminals, interestingly, it is also used by employers. According to Zaffron and Stickle, quote, the use of polygraph examinations began in business settings in the 1950s, end quote. In their 1984 article, the legal experts claim, since 1981, more than 1 million Americans have been given lie detector tests each year solely for employment purposes. To put 1 million in perspective, that is more than 10 times the capacity of this Rose Bowl stadium. Employers use the polygraph test to evaluate the honesty and character of both current employees and job applicants. Since polygraph accuracy is influenced by so many factors, and experts disagree about the overall validity of the test, polygraph use is restricted and regulated in several ways. Firstly, there are several requirements to becoming a licensed polygraph examiner. According to Zafran and Stickle, education and experience requirements vary from state to state. But in that same 1984 article, the authors write, the majority of states presently license polygraph examiners. U.S. courts also play a role in regulating the use of polygraphs. McLaughlin claims in U.S. court trials, polygraph evidence cannot be admitted in any state except New Mexico without the consent of both sides, the accused and the accuser. Law professor David L. Fagman and his peers support this claim, stating, quote, many courts, especially state courts, maintain a per se rule excluding polygraph evidence, end quote. So what happens when someone refuses to take a polygraph test? Fagman et al. Inform, quote, courts have held that the Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination applies to the taking of the polygraph, and thus a defendant's refusal to do so cannot be used against him or her, end quote. So regardless of the pressures and consequences associated with refusing to take a polygraph test, no one is absolutely required to take it by law. In conclusion, the polygraph, produced by years of science, can help identify dishonest individuals when used correctly. Various rules and regulations attempt to ensure proper use of this powerful tool. Even if your nose doesn't grow the next time you tell a lie, the reactions of your nervous system just might give you away. Thank you.